I fear regret. And you know what that leads me to do a lot of times? Sit and not make any decision at all. Because making no decision is better than having a decision to regret, right? Something's been floating around in the forefront of my brain recently, and that is the idea that we cannot magically clone ourselves to be able to truly test any potential outcomes of any decision we may make in our entire lives. You can only live one life. Any ounce of guilt or remorse or regret you feel from a decision you may or may not have made is just your best guess. You are just presuming that the choice you didn't make could have been better for you. As if any one decision has the potential to change 100% of the outcomes of your life. Odds are it doesn't. I mean, there are probably decisions that, or choices or life events that do affect your life by and large entirely, but for the most part, that's not how most decisions work. But regardless, either way, there is still a lot that is out of our control. And that's why I think regret is so mindless. Notice I say mindless and not useless. I'll get to that. When we're not careful about things, careful about our way of thinking, our mind can just write things off as regret, as sadness, because it's much easier to do that, to pinpoint blame on something like that, than it is to put mental strain on making any one decision right for you. So I theorize that we blame this potential choice that we didn't make, this route not taken, as a means to simplify things. I mean, our brain lives to simplify things. It's how we operate. The human brain is so complex, it constantly absorbs, processes, holds, updates, recalls all information we have ever come in contact with our entire existence. Most of that information we were not even consciously trying to obtain. Our brains are insane. So now the reason why I say regret is mindless and not useless is because I think regret and sadness and those bad emotions that you can sit in for a really long time can be that means of simplification for your brain. When something's hard to think about, it's just some sadness from that decision that you made. Idiot. Do better next time, okay? Thanks, brain. Thanks for that. When we sit in that sadness and we're not careful about it, our brain can get used to it and get comfortable in it and almost be addicted to it in a way. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, men and women of science, but I'm fairly certain that you can become addicted to just about anything. I'm pretty sure addiction is that thing that no matter how lame the reward is, your brain's gonna keep coming back to it if it's used to it, because hey, a reward's a reward, right? And maybe addiction is a harsh word. Maybe it is more just like a comfortable state that people choose to stay in. But even something like misery can be an addiction or a state your body is just so comfortable in that it will never leave, because hey, your misery has gotten you this far, right? Again, all your brain is worried about is keeping you physically alive. If that heart is beating, that blood is flowing, your brain did its job. Feel all the sadness and misery you want to feel. All the regret that you want to feel can be yours because you're alive, right? But the thing that I don't think our brain realizes is that we don't live in the jungle anymore. No, it is much easier to survive and be alive these days. You don't have to hunt and gather for our food. We don't have to fight off predators like we used to. And really, the only thing we kind of have to fight for these days is our sanity and maybe our freedoms. But back in caveman days, right? Or just days where it was much harder to survive physically, I imagine there's not a lot of time for regret, right? I mean, if you managed to escape the saber-toothed tiger chasing after you, then there's nothing to regret, right? There's no other option you'd rather have, because there's no other option you could have other than being alive. However, in today's world, we can't really avoid regret, because all regret is an opportunity cost. It's a decision foregoed. We have a lot of choices now, a lot of decisions that we can make. I mean, our life is made up of 500 little decisions every single day. There are so many things fighting for our attention, fighting for our time. The choice is yours. That's the beautiful thing, right? Because if that's the case, you don't have to worry about making the right decision. You just have to worry about making a decision right. Let's say that louder for the people in the back. You don't have to worry about making the right decision. You just have to worry about making any one decision you make right. That is why I think regret can be useful, in the same way sadness can be useful, or any negative emotion can be useful. Because you can take that feeling and say, ah, yes, so this is the thing that I actually need. This is the thing that I actually want. And that's the thing that I can now strive after. And that, my friend, that's a direction. That's a purpose. That is not simple. And our brain lives to simplify things. So it's going to be hard, because our biological brain is going to be trying to have us conserve our energy and find the simpler way to do things. And I think having copious amounts of regret is much easier than dealing with the mental strain of making any decision the right one for you, of doing the mental gymnastics you might have to make your situation right for you, right for those around you, or definitively right. Because at the same time, a good decision right now might not actually be the good or best decision later. It could be the wrong decision, because we're just trying to make the best decisions with the knowledge that we have at any given moment, right? So it's useless sulking in regret, and sadness and remorse is so useless. I had a friend once who had quite the opposite problem. She is a painfully positive person, and she refused at one point in time to feel any other emotion besides happiness. So we went on vacation once, a winter vacation to the snow, because we'd never been to the snow, right? And we decided to go skiing. And this was not a fun time for my friend, okay? She's not outdoorsy. It was wet. We were tired. It was exhausting. It was not glamorous. And I could tell as a friend that she was having a pretty terrible time. And it's kind of funny because we were both struggling, but you know, she particularly hated it. And by the time it was the end of the day and we had driven down the mountain, she goes, oh, that was really fun. You know, I love skiing. And I was like, what? Who are you? And what did you do with my friend? Because the girl I knew 20 minutes ago hated that experience. And she's like, well, actually, when you think about it, you know, considering all of this and when you add that, you know, it was kind of a great time. And I tell her, you know, it's okay. You don't have to like skiing. We can still have a great time on this trip. We just don't have to ski. I'm not mad at you for hating this experience. And she kind of goes, wow, you know, you're right. I think I did hate that. She could have chose to be sad and sulk and regret that we chose to go on this skiing vacation and we spent all this money and she hated it. And she didn't. Instead, she chose overbearing happiness. And that's not quite the right mark either, but our emotions are here to tell us things. All emotions, good emotions, bad emotions, they're here to tell us things. And that doesn't mean we make decisions off of them solely or we act upon them or whatever, but no, instead we see them, we recognize them, and we use them to our advantage. And saying all this right now already makes me feel so much relief from my own life decisions that I may regret, that I may feel remorse about. Because very often, if I'm not thinking consciously about it, I fear regret. I hate that feeling. I try to avoid that feeling as much as I can. And you know what that leads me to do a lot of times? It's to sit and not make any decision at all. Because making no decision is better than having a decision to regret, right? Well, actually, no, because all you need is some time to pass, and then all of a sudden you're regretting not making a decision at all. And it's all just silly and inevitable. And I think sometimes we just have to sit and really think and feel those emotions and figure out how to make them work for us. Whether you want to admit it or not, it is such a luxury. We are so lucky to have these trivial things, if you will, to worry about instead of just pure survival. We don't have to worry about pure survival anymore. And as nice as you might think that sounds, living off the land 2,000 years ago, or whatever history caveman days were, I don't think that actually would have been better. I mean, life is arguably more simple, but we are really blessed to be able to not have to worry so much about our physical survival anymore. But our brain still does, and so we kind of have to combat that. And I think sometimes living back in those days sounds nice, but that's just because I think I get tired of being addicted to my sad emotions sometimes, to my regret and my remorse and my guilt, and I get comfortable and I stay there. And maybe you feel that way too sometimes. We really don't have to. And that's really all I have to say today. I hope this helps. Thanks for listening.